Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is the Driveline Academy podcast. I'm your host, Evan Morgan, Director of Youth Baseball at Driveline, founder of the Driveline Academy. Typical, very verbose intro that I try to get through as fast as possible. This is a special edition of the Driveline Academy podcast. My normal co-host, Jeremy Techtiel, Driveline Academy coordinator, Driveline Academy skill coordinator, Mark Brands, Driveline Academy high performance coordinator, Connor Stratton. They aren't here, but instead, we have a very, very special guest, one of two people on this earth that I can say literally that I've known them since they debuted on this small rock flying through the infinite unknown of the universe. And that is my own daughter, Cora Morgan. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
So for anybody that knows me, I think, and kind of knows what we've done with Academy, knows my journey with Driveline, you know that like I am aggressively online about my kids, and like, and just, you know, incredibly proud of all of their achievements, athletic and otherwise. And the reason that, you know, we had talked about, Cora, you coming on was to kind of talk about your journey as a girl that grew up playing baseball, went through a couple different stages of it, dipped a toe in the world of fast pitch softball for a bit, had some experiences over there, came back, and then finally made the leap into like travel ball. And then ultimately, you know, making the decision, I think, on your own terms to be done.
Yeah.
Which is one of those things where, you know, I don't want to start at the end, but I don't want to start at the end of the story because I think the start and the middle and
The entire hero's journey.
The entire hero's journey is like it's interesting, right? And I think it could be really beneficial for parents, for girls that want to play baseball, for girls that might be going through some of the stuff that you actively went through in that. And again, not to start with the end of the story, but I think the thing that I will just lead with is for me, as a parent, I was incredibly proud for you to tell me that you just wanted to be done. Because it was a decision that you made on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and I think I've talked about this previously, but like as a parent, you kind of go through these stages, and I think this may be relative to sport, and it's also just relative to baseball, but also life, right? Where like you, as a parent, you have things that compel you, you know, like I love baseball. So when you have children, you kind of expose them to the things that you like, and then you also expose them to just other things and see what kind of lands. And then, you know, when you have that like square hole, square peg moment where it's like, oh, my child like autonomously chooses this thing that I also really enjoy and love, it feels really special because it feels like, you know, you're kind of passing something on, and there's a lot of value to that. There's a lot of value in just seeing your children be able to share joy in the same thing that you find joy in.
Yeah.
But ultimately, as a parent, I think the thing that a lot of us have to learn, and certainly something that I had to learn, is that you're going to get to a point where your kids start making their own decisions.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to get comfortable with that, right? Because you have to develop autonomy in terms of like the way that you run your life. You know, like you and I have had private conversations about this, where it's like the whole point of what we call growing up is just like learning how to be a person. So for me, and again, this is just very much like the preamble, right? For me, I think the fact that you came to that decision independently and were brave enough to say that, relative to in understanding what that means, which is like not being scared of disappointing me, not being scared of like just deciding to kind of listen to your own inner voice that like, this is a thing that I think I've had my time. You know, there's power in that.
Yeah.
There's power in that. So anyways, let's go back to the start. Do you remember Morgan Family Spring Training?
Vaguely. Yeah.
I have a hilarious picture somewhere.
Oh, in our backyard.
No, no, no. No. We went to a local elementary school, and you were I think 3, and your brother was barely 1. And we were like, all right, Morgan Family Spring Training. So we went to an elementary school that was like literally like a maybe 3 block walk from our house. And by that point, you were like very determined to dress yourself,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
and and you had like just like the pretty princess, kind of the athletic pretty princess
Oh yeah.
outfit,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
where it's like you had this little skirt and like the matching top, and you had a hat, and you had your little sunglasses.
Oh my gosh, my sunglasses.
And and we were out on the field with like the the big plastic bat and the big plastic ball and the big
Hmm.
plastic tee, and you were up there taking hacks, as was your brother. And I think for me, that's like, I think one of the first memories that I have of you like in baseball.
Yeah.
Do you have anything like before that, or do you remember that?
I like I remember hitting, but my most significant memory of like baby baseball, if you
Yes.
will, is like being very, very upset in T-ball that I wasn't allowed to like hit a double or a triple or a home run. Like that made me that made me very mad because no, you were like I feel like I talked to you about this as like a child and was like, "Dad, why am I not allowed to take another base?"
Yes. Which portends a direction of the future,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Which is that like
Yeah.
I think for you, I think the strongest tool that you had in the toolbox as a baseball player was generally always the hit tool.
Oh yeah.
And that kind of started when you were younger. So yes, I very much remember those conversations where I was like assistant coaching your t-ball team, and kind of, at the
The
time,
Red Dragons.
yes, the famous Shoreline Red Dragons, or Richmond Beach Little League Red Dragons. I think at the time there was just like this kind of rule in t-ball that like when a kid cranked one into the outfield, that we would kind of constrain it to a single,
Yeah.
because if you don't, then you just enter in like the Keystone Cops thing of like the kids are going to literally make like 13 throws to try to get it back into the infield.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
And just some of like the abject chaos that kind of come from that little league experience.
yeah.
But yes, no, I very much remember that.
Like every hit past middle infield is a dinger.
Yes. Oh well, and like honestly, that is kind of true not only in t-ball but also like in what our little league would be like the single A and double A
Oh yeah, yeah,
configuration.
yeah.
Is just like anything out of the infield, man. It's a double if it's not a home run.
Yeah,
Just because
like
the zoo of getting it back in.
yeah, oh my gosh. I remember I think like I don't remember what position I was playing,
Who?
but it was in T-ball. Or it wasn't in T-ball, it was in like my first like it was in like coach pitch, I think.
Sure.
But I remember like being like, why can people not like understand the direction that we have to get this ball in so that we can get this guy out? It's very simple. Very, very simple.
Yeah, I mean it's simple, but it also like it's funny. We had Jason Ochart was
Oh yeah.
did the podcast like literally yesterday, and one of the things we were talking about is just like the abundance of technical stuff that you need to learn to kind of like functionally play a game of baseball,
Mm-hmm.
and how that's one box, and then there's another box which is like the skill that is involved and also necessary in executing the
Mm-hmm.
technical structure of playing the game,
Mm-hmm.
and how it's tricky to kind of navigate trying to do both at an appropriate level, because in t-ball, we didn't really have much of practices. The schedule was just like we just played games.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that part of the reason for that is that I don't know that we were doing a great job of supplying coaches with an idea of how to like actually execute a practice and structure in a way
Mm-hmm.
that's fun and engaging, the same way that the game is going to be. So it's just like, all right, well, we're just going to play the game.
Yeah, and like I like genuinely my favorite memories of playing baseball are like the drills that you came up with. It's like it's kill the king, don't kill the puppies, like
Oh, well,
then
yeah, that was later on down the line. And when I was just, I mean, again, because your playing experience basically maps to my coaching experience. So
yeah.
like, when we were first doing t-ball, I very much remember, I think Little League International at the time, put out just like a how to coach baseball guide, and it
Mm-hmm.
had stuff like the alligator, the alligator for
The
fielding a ground
alligator.
ball, which nowadays, like, don't do that. Please try to encourage kids to be much more athletic and less robotic. And when they're trying to do that type of stuff, I remember something in their manual was just like in the throwing motion, it was just like it was get here and then break and like literally point the ball at the second baseman was the idea for
Oh
like
yeah.
teaching a kid how to pitch. And again, like, don't do that. Like, that's not the move. We're looking for like an efficient arm spiral, not like this exaggerated catapult motion, which is literally the thing that would
Oh
happen.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I remember like balls would either go into the dirt or like very far above your head, and in softball too. It was either in the dirt or above your head. And like I was playing softball like maybe at like
Yeah, probably around I
9.
think it was
I remember playing
9 and 10
89ers.
or 10 and 11, something like that.
Yeah, it was like those very significant years in your development where you're
Hmm.
like you don't know how to move.
Sure.
Like obviously you know how to walk, you know how to like pick stuff up, but like the very intricate movement of a like softball pitching motion was just not there. And like I don't like I got hit a couple times and I was just like, yeah, yeah.
Well, it's not like anybody was throwing hard.
Yeah, it's not like anyone's throwing harder.
Yeah, so to make sure we don't kind of skip parts of the story, so
Hmm.
basically you started just straight up playing nothing but baseball. And
Yeah.
I think I'm trying to remember at the time there. I think there was like one other girl that was kind of around your age.
It was Bridget. You remember?
Yes, I do remember Bridget. I think there was
Yeah.
Bridget, and I think there was one other girl that were kind of in the ecosystem of like girls who are playing baseball.
Yeah.
But by and large, it was just like it was a male dominant
Hmm.
uh, composition of players. And boy, I look back at like those early like t-ball games, and we would have I remember very distinctly that like the thing was that like you got a bucket, you got a whole bunch of buckets as a coach,
Oh yeah.
and what you were supposed to do is hand the buckets out to each kid, because
Hmm.
during the game, if your team was hitting, the kid that wasn't hitting, all the kids that weren't hitting
You had
had
to
to
sit
sit
on the
on the
bucket.
bucket. Like, that was the thing, and it was like this kind of constructed thing about like, well, we have to make sure that these kids just aren't like running all over the place and doming themselves with bats and
Because
yada
we're
yada.
like tiny.
Yeah. So everybody had to sit on the bucket, and then when we got playing defense, and like the kids that weren't in the field, if there were, if there were too many kids and not enough positions or not enough just literal real estate, then those kids would also be on a bucket.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, nowadays, like, year of our Lord 2022, Devin, like, boy, I am pretty convicted that like stuff like that is the exact reason why we just shouldn't even bother playing games, like an actual normally constructed game for kids like,
That are
I don't know, seven and under,
yeah.
because there's so much wasted
Potential.
time and wasted opportunities for engagement, because it's just like you're
Because
herding cats.
and you're sitting on a bucket.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I remember the first time I ever fell into one of those because
But first, sure.
you're 7 and this bucket is massive. Like
Yeah.
you could probably fit in there if you tried. And like what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to flip the bucket upside down, sit on like
Yeah,
the
you're sitting on the bottom is the
Yeah.
idea. But what do the kids do?
not that.
Yeah, not that.
And so the like you would move up in the bucket order depending on like
Yes.
who was hitting.
Yes.
And like I wasn't paying attention one time and this kid had flipped his bucket over. And I just went like ass first into the bottom of this bucket and I couldn't get out. It was
Yeah, that checks out. That checks out. Yeah, so started with the T-ball, and then we moved into coach
like
pitch.
I mean like I feel the need to say this, but like previous to like I don't know, maybe like 10, 11, there was no like real realization that like, oh, I'm a girl. I'm a girl playing baseball. And there was no realization from like other people. Like obviously it was there,
It's
but
just
like
kids.
not from my teammates. Like it was like, "Oh, you are my friend Cora. You are a girl, but you play baseball." Those were like separate things. And it was only like it was only like after that time period when like the dots started to connect in people's heads, and they were like, oh, you're a girl, you're playing baseball.
That seems unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my recollection, and I guess you can tell me if this seems right or not, is that I remember there seemed to be a moment where in that last year that you were playing, I think it was either last year coach pitch or first year kid pitch, where I think some of the behavior of, again, like immature, little boys started to kind of go like, man, I don't know that I really want to be around this, and we were aware that like fast pitch was a thing.
Because
where
by that
the
point,
fast pitch is all girls.
yeah, because like by that point, a lot of my friends had moved to the fast pitch area. Like,
We're probably a
yeah.
couple years behind the curve of making that move.
Yeah, like it was because I wanted to play baseball. Like it's not that I didn't want to play softball, I just wanted to play baseball.
Yeah.
And so like it was this like I suddenly became aware that like I was a girl on a team full of boys, and that felt weirdly isolating because
Yeah, you're an outlier.
I'm an outlier, and then I think that's when I came to you and I was like, "Hey dad, I think I want to start playing softball."
Yeah.
Cuz like it didn't feel good to know that like to like come to the realization that it's like, "Oh, I'm different."
Sure.
And like
Sure. And specifically because that difference is resolve itself in, just some social stuff where boys are starting to get more boy-y, right? And they're aware that you're not that, right?
Not
So yeah, I think for me as a parent, I think the intention then is the same intention as it was kind of the whole journey. It's just like, I want you to find a way to engage with the game that suits you. Just in a way that suits you and you're comfortable with. So it was like, all right, well, if fast pitch is the move, then let's just go over to fast pitch.
Fast pitch was honestly really fun. Like you get to cheer, which is a big plus.
Yeah.
Like that was a big plus because I feel like after like in my years previous to fast pitch and coming back to baseball, I was like, why aren't it's so quiet? It's quiet and it's weird.
Yeah, and like I don't know, I've gone back and forth on like the cheering thing. There's a part of me that it grates on me a little bit, and mostly because it's very different than my own experience. Where it was just like, we're serious about playing baseball, and there will be no cheering in this dugout. And like, man, it's just such a hardo. It's like, dude, they're like, these kids are like 8 years old. Just relax. But yeah, and the only thing that like, I don't want to say bothered me, the concern that I had about the cheering is that like sometimes it felt like we spent more time on that type of stuff than we did about like the skill development and like teaching the game stuff, which maybe that's not even a problem. Like maybe if the cheering and the softball style cheering is just a conduit for like kids to feel together and engaged and excited and like doing something that's kind of fun and silly, then maybe it just has value in and of itself. I think as a younger parent and as a younger coach, I was just too much of a hardo to like, in that first year of fast pitch, I coached you.
Yeah.
And I coached that team, and I coached your brother's team at the same time, which was like an absolute mess.
Oh yeah.
And I felt like strategically in a very poor position because I had no idea how to teach you girls the actual like fast pitch pitching motion.
Yeah.
So like I was just like hammering YouTube videos and trying to figure it out because I had no idea. I think we brought in your cousin Tay Tay to actually help at one point. But yeah, so the first year in fast pitch, I coached your team.
And then it was his name Josh?
You had Mickey for a year,
Mickey
and then I think you had Josh. Anyways, point being that like that got us to the point of AllStars started to be a thing.
Yeah, and like AllStars genuinely was like it was it was an environment where I was like, these people want the same thing that I do.
Sure.
Like they
You're
weren't
starting to.
they weren't there to mess around. They weren't there to like, I don't know, because their parents wanted them to have an after school activity. They were there because they wanted to play. And like, and I think that year was like the first year where we could steal bases, which genuinely is my favorite thing in the world.
Sure.
Like, it's just because like Mickey taught me how to slide, and I slid for the first time in shorts, and that hurt. But like then it progressed to like stealing bases, and like being able to steal bases genuinely was my favorite part, because like it's so fun, and like
To run fast and not get caught.
yeah,
Yeah.
run fast, not get caught. Like it's so fun. And then that AllStars environment where it was like everyone was running fast, everyone was like not getting caught, and we were like I don't even remember what like how that went. Was that the year where where we had to co-league?
Well, no, that was the year before.
Oh.
And I want to get to that in a second.
Oh yeah.
Did you have something you wanted to say about that first like All-Star year?
That first All-Star year was like, I feel like that improved my love for the game. Like just in a like very genuine sense. It made me like be like, this is important to me.
Sure.
Like, and like beyond the game, beyond like me playing it, it is like it is a part of who I am. And like now that I don't play it, it still is a very big part of who I am. Like I love baseball. And that is a part of me, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're waiting for the episode when Devin's going to start crying, this is probably the one. So I want to tread somewhat lightly here because I'm not trying to call anybody out. But your last year in fast pitch,
That was a big one.
You know, I don't think the regular season was not really ideal.
The regular season, I remember like my coach was my friend's dad.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was a cool guy. He was a cool dad.
Yeah, totally fine. Great dude.
As a coach, there were several places where I was like, what are you doing, dude? Like I remember one very significant point where it was like we were down, we weren't playing like as well as we could have been, we weren't there, like we weren't where we needed to be,
and it's rec fast pitch little league, so there's a lot of variation in the teammates and instruction, etc.
Yeah, and so like I remember we were down, and he screamed at us, and then he shut down. Like he was full on yelling at us. And I'm like 10, and I'm like, you're not my father.
Yeah.
What? You're not a parent. You're not my parental unit. You're like my fast pitch coach, and I'm 10. Like,
yeah.
And then he just shut down. And like by saying shut down, I fully mean shut down. Like
he was the
sitting in
cold shoulder,
like sitting in the corner of the dugout, not coaching. Like we would ask him, hey, where are we supposed to go? Because like for like positions and stuff. Because yeah. And he would just cold shoulder, not even looking, and I'm like, what?
And you know, and I will say, like, now that I have two things. I have a fair amount of empathy for, as a parent and a coach, being in that position. Because I think one of the things that can make you have like a real significant emotional reaction as a coach is like when you feel like you haven't done your due diligence to prepare your team. And when you are faced with the consequences of that, and you don't have any other context to go like, well, we might be doing very poorly in this game and non-competitive, and I feel like my failures are like made public this way, but this is why I scream about training with data. But I know that like the average team bat speed is up like 3 miles an hour over the first 6 weeks. Or I know that like anything that I've done to kind of quantify our development from where we started to where we finished, or
Mm-hmm.
where we want to get to eventually when we finish, that I know that that we're making some amount of iterative progress. If you don't see that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and all you see is just like, it looks like I, as a parent volunteer coach, who I didn't play high level baseball. I haven't done this professionally.
Mm-hmm.
I just do this on the side, and I like come up with my practice plan on the drive to the field, in
Yeah.
so much as there is a practice plan.
Yeah.
And then you see that goes sideways, and it feels like there's somebody else's team that's more prepared.
Yeah.
That it can make you as a coach feel embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
The way that goes sideways, obviously, is like taking that, my personal embarrassment, and then forecasting that against children.
10-year-olds.
Yeah, like
10-year-old,
that's
like small girls who like just learned how to braid ribbons into their hair.
right.
Like that was a significant thing.
And,
I got ribbons in my hair.
sure. And to be clear, like, to whatever degree your team is exposed for being underprepared when you're talking about really young children that way, it is kind of a reflection to a degree of you as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's one of those things where the reason that again, like nowadays, year of our Lord 2022, we advocate for like a lot more time spent in practice and training and development, is because the only way that you're kind of like solve those problems is you have to get more reps.
Mm-hmm.
And if the only reps you get are 3 at bats, and you see
3 at bats, 3 innings.
and you see somewhere between like 6 to 12, 14 pitches, man, you can get that in 5 minutes in practice.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get in that loop, and this goes for little league, or where it goes for travel ball, where it's just like play games, play games, play games, play games, play games, you're not only very much in like a run what you brung configuration, where you just show up to the track and you run the car as it is. You don't have time to develop the car, because
Mm-hmm.
all you do is race.
Mm-hmm.
You're also like, if you're it's really hard to accumulate enough reps in that configuration to like literally do the best job of efficiently solving whatever the ways that your team fundamentally lacks.
Yeah. And then I feel like the 3 at bats, 3 outs kind of thing brings me to our next topic.
Well, so the one thing that I also wanted to say about like that year of travel for you is that like I mean I absolutely felt like I had let you down by not coaching. And I had decided to stay on the baseball side because I just felt like I was inherently, because of my experience, better equipped
Mm-hmm.
to do that. And I felt like I was under equipped to successfully coach your fast pitch team. And I was just like, it's that thing where you kind of just like you have to hope and trust that somebody else is going to do a better job with you than you.
Yeah.
And then you see someone not doing a better job, because like I can be a crappy fast pitch coach. I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see that, it's like, oh, now this is kind of on me,
Yeah.
as a parent for me, who like was, active and volunteering and on the board, I felt like I had kind of let you down that year.
I mean, excuse me, but I recognize that you didn't have the resources. Like you had YouTube.
You
had
and
YouTube.
YouTube was fine. I could. Anyways, there's a lot
But,
of coulda, woulda, shoulda there.
But I recognized, even as like a small child with limited brain development, that it didn't mean that you didn't love me. It didn't mean you didn't care about me. It's just you were playing to your strengths, and you wanted me to get the best out of what I was doing, and so that went to someone else.
Yeah, and it just and I don't know if maybe this is just because I've now turned into a bit of a control freak as I've gotten older, but I think it's one of those things that if I had to do it again, I would have just gone like, all right, well, it's not that I need to lean into my strength and move away from my weakness. It is the other thing where like I need to make this weakness a strength, and I need to develop that. And if I simply just like harness the fact that like I didn't need to be as good as like a high school varsity fast pitch coach, and I just needed to be like positive and build skills for you guys and keep it fun, I would have been less worried about the exposure because of the thing that I didn't know, which is like a lot of the stuff that was a little bit more fast pitch that I just didn't know how to teach you.
And like I did learn a lot from like my three-ish
Yeah,
years, my 3-ish years in fast pitch, because I was like, because I mean, learning by experience is a pretty good thing. I I didn't really know what fast pitch entailed. I was like, this is like in my head it was like this is girls baseball. Like but
sure, but it is
but
different.
it is a completely different thing, and it is tremendously different in like in pitching style, in environment, in rules, in
A
like
lot of changes, yeah.
there are a lot of changes, and like that's honestly what like made me really annoyed as like a child, when people were like, "Oh, softball's just girls baseball." And it's like I it's like just even like I was never a baseball pitcher. I did it a couple times
We
in the
tried.
later
We
years.
tried. You pitched about as much as I pitched when I was young, which was not a lot.
It's not a lot. It wasn't for me. But like that like I constantly had to jump to the defense of my sport, being like, this is equally as hard as boys baseball.
Yeah, it's just different.
It's just different. It's not like it isn't girls baseball, it is softball. And so I'm going to make this joke for the next time, but softballs are not soft. They hurt.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
They hurt.
Yeah.
And like I remember like I was bruised up and down, cuz in like I think in my last year of softball, and especially during like my last All-Star season.
Velo started to tick up.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I remember umpiring a game for you guys one time because we didn't have an umpire, and the girl, the team that you guys were playing was from another league,
Yeah.
and the girl up there just like was throwing fuzz,
Oh yeah.
and her catcher was not very good. So consequently, as the umpire, I was like a human meat backstop. I was the meat backstop in front of like the actual wooden backstop, and ended
Yeah.
up wearing a lot of them. It was like, okay, like the difficulty level is ramping up.
Yeah, and then again during that All-Star season, it was like that last season of softball for me, being it regular season or All-Stars, it was tough, genuinely.
Yeah, no, the competition level
Like,
for sure ramped up, and especially in the
Tough
All Stars.
competition wise, tough emotionally, like it was a lot, and it's like specifically during All-Stars, because we didn't have enough girls that signed up for All-Stars, so we had to co-league with another league. And
Well, so the one thing that I do want to talk about that experience, that last fast pitch All-Star experience, was for me like it seemed like there was kind of a precipice. You were on a precipice right then about deciding to be done.
yeah.
So I don't know if you recall all the gritty details here, but the team that you ended up co-leaguing with, like 9/10 of the roster was from this other league, and there was just a couple kids from our league that were on that team.
It was me
Well,
and another.
yeah. We don't need to name names or
I
anything.
will not name names.
And suffice it to say that like after 6 weeks of 6 days a week of practices, when it came to the games, it seemed to me, and certainly not like not a disinterested third party. Obviously, I'm your parent and I want to advocate for you. But it seemed like the playing opportunities, the distribution of them was not what I would call fair between between the two of you and kind of the rest of the roster from this other team. And but I think the end result of that was something that like was such a gift that like, to me, I don't want to. I'm a little grateful for it, because you guys were in that last All-Star game, and you lost, and you got kind of relegated to just like minimum at bat and minimum playing time.
Was minimum at bat, minimum playing time. That was my entire, like, my last softball All-Star season, because I mean, I'm not gonna name names. I'm not gonna like do anything, but like the coach and the assistant coach, their daughters got more playing time than me and the girl from my league.
And it's not, and it's AllStars, right? You know, the intention of AllStars is to win, I think, for me. And again, man, I grant that I am not a disinterested third party. I am always going to see, you know, you and your brother through rose-colored glasses to a degree. But just like it seemed like the opportunity wasn't fair, and that was the
really
thing that
wasn't.
kind of that frustrated me. But you know, like the blessing that came out of that is, you know, you guys lost that last All-Star game, and you came off the field and you were very upset, and and the tears are coming out a little bit, because you guys, you know, you had put all this time into it in practice, and then expected kind of equity when it comes to, or just a fair shot when it comes to playing time. And you put all this time into it, and that fair shot didn't really seem to be all that fair. And you came off the field and you are crying, and you came into my arms, and I was so, I was livid. I was very, very angry, because I felt like you were done a disservice.
I was.
So in my head, I'm angry about what you didn't get. Do you remember what you said to me?
I do remember what I said to you.
What Cora said to me was, I couldn't help the team win. Which to me, like, I'm in the middle of this hug of my daughter, my firstborn child, my precious, and I'm so upset about, you know, an opportunity to think that you were taken away that negatively affected you, but then your perspective on it was it was so disruptive to mine, because you were like, I couldn't help the team win. Your focus was still like team, even out of that opportunity. And I was like, all right, man, she sees this in a very special and a unique way. Because I know that a lot of other kids, I didn't get to play, right? But that was not your perspective. So after that, I don't know if you remember this, you were like, I'm just going to play soccer, and I'm not going to play baseball or anything like that anymore. And there was a period of time where I was just like, okay, like, you know, like this is really, this is not the way that I think I wanted this to go. And again, not that your experience in athletics is mine, only that I want to share in the joy and the love of this thing with you. But there's stuff that I couldn't control that pushed you away. So you were like, I'm just going to go play soccer. And at the time, I was coaching your soccer team. Shout out to the Tiger Lilies, undefeated for,
I don't know, like
forever.
Yeah,
I don't think, no, we never lost a game. And again, hey man, I've been the guy that's probably said, you know, multiple hours on here that like I didn't care about winning, and I still don't. But we had a soccer team, a rec soccer team that like was relatively competitive, and we did well. So like,
and like,
winning was not about. To be clear, winning was not about me. Winning was about seeing you guys in that team.
Yeah, like we were
successful.
A team. Like, beyond being a group of people who do things together, we were a team.
Yeah,
like,
that was fun.
Like, I still talk to Ava.
Sure.
Like, she's in my science class.
Yeah.
Like,
that was a good experience.
And we made some cool sweatshirts that my father still has.
Yes, I do still have my Tiger Lily sweatshirt.
But like
Ed Hardy inspired design.
Yeah. Like
Ed Hardy, the tattoo artist.
Yes, I know Ed Hardy, the tattoo artist.
I know, but some of our people in the internet just are going to think about like affliction t-shirts. It's like, look, man, Ed Hardy was like actually a legit artist that just, I digress. I'm not going to make this podcast about tattoos and naval culture. Anyways, you were like, I just want to be done. I want to be done. And I was like, okay, like I know here as a parent, I just need to let this rest. It's like steak that just came out of the oven. let it rest. And we got closer to registration for like next season. And I was like, Cora, do you think you want to come back and play? And you were like, nope. So I was like, all right, how about this? I remember you and I had a conversation, I think, on the couch in our old house, and I was just like, I think what you should try to do is just come back and play baseball, and I'll coach. Your brother will be able to play up a couple years, and I remember saying to you, I was just like, I promise we're just gonna have fun.
Yeah, Danny and I were an unstoppable force. Like the brother-sister team. It was awesome.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Is it like, so that was you were 11 and D was 9.
Yeah.
And then the next year was the second year that we were able to do that, and unfortunately the last.
Yeah.
Where you were 12 and he was 10 playing, little majors, little league or whatever.
Yeah.
But for me, I think having that opportunity to be able to coach both of you, it certainly felt good because I could kind of resolve some of my feelings of like bad dad, because I wasn't able to control some of the negative experiences you had when I wasn't coaching you. It certainly resolved some of that, but like mostly, just the joy is just like, man, being able to see you guys on the field together. I literally just downloaded a picture from that from our first end of season championship game where you and Danny were on the same team together.
Oh yeah.
Where for better or worse, Danny was like our closer. On the team.
I mean, okay, but
at
also
9, playing against 10s and 11s, and we lost a game. A couple just cupcakes got dropped, one in the outfield, one in the infield, and Danny, had a meltdown on the mound. And there's a very precious picture that I have in my phone of you consoling him. And it's just like, it's one of those things where, man, it's such a special moment to be able to see like the thing that as a parent you want to build, which is just like, someday I'm not going to be here, and
this will be the episode where we both cry.
Fair. And when you kind of have to consider like, what's the remainder, like what's left behind. And I think about the relationship that you and your brother have, and the way that you guys have been able to like forge that relationship inside the house, outside of the house, at school, outside of school, in athletics. Like, and it's just, it's that type of moment where you were able to be there for him in a way that is just like very unique to configuration of like sister, brother, sibling.
Yeah. And like being on the same baseball team, genuinely, like, it helped our relationship as like brother and sister, like tremendously. Like that experience was just, it was impactful. And like, I don't think my relationship with Dee would be the same without like us being on the field together.
Yeah. I mean, there's a little like, there's just a little like born on the battlefield type of thing there, right? Where like you guys are going through the same experience, you're, shared struggle, shared goal, shared progress. And that was a lot of fun. That first year was a lot of fun. And then the second year was a lot more fun, because you really started to bang.
Oh yeah. Hit my first dinger.
And, look, man, I will, I'll brag on my kid a minute. As far as I am aware, you are the only girl in our league's history that has ever hit a legit in competition over the fence into the forest home run. You're the only one.
Yeah, I remember this moment so tremendously. Also, because they tried to say that I didn't touch first base. And I touched first base.
You were on the ragged edge of barely touching that thing by like a couple of atoms of shoelace, but you did.
I touched first base.
And honestly, I mean, if this doesn't point to how insane the environment of Little League is, right? Consider 12-year-old girl playing against boys, legit home run in competition.
She doesn't touch first base.
And someone's we're really gonna like try to walk that back and challenge whether Like, what are we doing, dude? And it's fine,
like-
like
like-
that wasn't an issue.
I remember every single second of that because it was so like it was so cool. Like I remember the pitch coming in and I remember who threw it.
I know.
But and I still hold it over his head to this day. He says
Fair.
it was an accident. It was not an accident.
Homers
Homers are never an accident.
Well, unless you listen to Reggie Jackson.
But like
But I digress.
I remember the pitch coming in. I remember like seeing it. I remember hitting it and just watching it and being like, "Oh shit. This is like
Watch your language, young lady.
sorry." But like I remember like being like, "Oh my gosh, is it even going to go over?" And then like I hear
And
hear
it
it
carried by about another 30 feet.
yeah, and then I hear it hit like the concrete path.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
did I just do that?
Yeah. So, and the funny thing is it's like I remember that moment. I was coaching third base, and like the team wanted to like just reach out and like mob you at home.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I actually was concerned about that kid on the bump because I didn't want him to feel
Sad.
inappropriately stigmatized.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally like told your team, I was
I
like,
know, I
wait,
remember.
it's like wait at the dugout, which like it,
They did not like that.
but it was kind of great because like there was like this low rumble of cheering, and then I was like, hey, just hold it for a second, and you come around, you get home plate, you walk back to the dugout, and then as soon as like the door opens, there's like this big explosion. And it was a really, really wonderful moment.
Yeah, and like I
That your brother was the loudest voice in that dugout
yeah.
cheering for
Yeah,
you
yeah.
at like 9, I guess 10 years old.
like his tiny little squeaky voice, like, yeah, Cora! Woo!"
Yeah, that was really special. So so we had a good run. We had a good run that year. I don't remember what happened with AllStars that year. It was I mean, it was okay.
I mean-
but then
Was that the year that I started Driveline?
well, so that was right around the time that you started coming down here.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to get you started at Driveline at the same time your brother was because you were in high cap classes.
Oh, yeah.
And the only way I was able to get Danny here on time because of how far away we were was to pull him out of school early, and I couldn't pull you early.
Yeah, because I got out 30 minutes later than
Yeah,
he did.
yeah. So you would have had to miss like a legit like hour to hour 15 of your day of school, which
And so it's a
if I
lot
had to
when
do
you're
it over
12.
again, I would probably push harder to do that. But anyways,
I
but yeah,
mean,
you had started
yeah.
coming down here, and I think started to kind of train with data. So I guess let me ask you this, like going from being in an environment where, even when I was coaching you at that point, at that most we had was just like a blast or a ZEP sensor. Shout out to anybody that still has
Oh
one of
yeah.
those. But we didn't have anything like radar guns and exit velocity. So when you stepped into Driveline and started training, you could actually like attach numbers to that. How did that feel?
It was good to see the numbers go green.
Yeah, green numbers are good.
Green numbers are good.
Green beans,
like,
baby.
That's like my most significant thing. It's like I remember just like going, hitting, throwing, and then like seeing the numbers go green and hearing like full on adult men be like, yeah.
Oh, 100%, dude. 100%.
Like that was the coolest thing to my tiny 12-year-old brain. Tiny being 4 years ago now, but
it's still tiny.
tiny.
Developmentally progressing. How about that?
Developmentally progressing. I feel like that's a lot longer to say than tiny, but we'll go for it.
Sure.
But like that experience of like seeing the numbers go green, hearing the cheering, like feeling good about what I just did, and then you saying do it again, like that, and then like that's what like pushed me to get better, is like those numbers going green, and like hearing the cheering, hearing everything.
Look, man, I keep saying it. If you're not training with data to whatever degree you can afford to implement it, you are missing opportunities to engage kids in this positive feedback loop about skill acquisition. about getting better, and I firmly believe that that is a tool that has benefit in terms of skill acquisition on the training floor, within our sport, and I think it sure as hell has a lot of value just in regular life.
And I mean, not to like completely change the topic of conversation because this just kind of came into my head, but like being a girl in baseball was rough. And I like one of my friends to this day, I met her through baseball. Like Kylie. Like I met her because we were girls who played baseball. And that's what united us, and we built a friendship off of that. And like that's and like I remember meeting her at the tryout for and like and then again because we had mutual friends at like my friend Julia's birthday party, and we were ice skating because that's what you do when you're 11.
Yeah.
And like and being like, you are a cool person who I can play baseball with.
Yeah.
And then years go by, like a whirlwind, and like now it's like we're 16 driving. She has a boyfriend who was also on her little league team, but like it's like that was forged in the fires of like little league baseball,
and forged in both of you being outliers to the same degree.
Yeah.
So finished kind of like the little league journey, and then as a 13-year-old, I remember you did off-season training with D and I down at Driveline, and you got a lot better.
Was able to do 5 push-ups.
Yeah, we were getting that. And then that rolls right into COVID.
Oh, yeah.
So that rolled right into COVID because
that rolled into Dinger Central.
Right. Which so to kind of timeline wise, like we had done that entire off season of training at Driveline from like October through February. We didn't have teams yet, but we were going to be doing them in the coming year. And then we went down to spring training. We saw El Jefe, Kyle Bodie at the Reds training camp complex. Saw the man himself, Casey Weathers, at the Reds training complex.
Gotcha.
Sorry, my brain locked up. And then we saw Uncle Ronnie Two Shoes,
gosh,
Rob Hill at the Dodgers training complex.
I got to see Kenley Jansen and Clayton Kershaw do the same drills that I was doing, and that was insane. It blew my itty bitty 12-year-old brain. Pretty
great.
I have the picture of D and I and Dave Roberts saved on my phone, and I will never delete it ever. Yeah. Because no matter how weird my outfit looks, that's Dave Roberts.
Sure.
And
he was fine.
It was
come on. Okay.
But and Kenley wasn't starting from the ground. He was starting from his knee, and I was like, you should start from the ground.
You're going to coach up
Kenley Jansen. But that was insane.
Yeah.
I remember watching them pitching and then turning around looking at Los Angeles Dodgers plyo wall.
Yeah.
And seeing Kenley Jansen and being like, what?
Yeah. The Mike Rathwell, Lord Business, CEO of Driveline Baseball, a long time ago said, every 12-year-old in the country is going to want to do Clayton Kershaw's arm program. Clayton Kershaw doesn't want to do the arm program of a 12-year-old. But the funny thing is in as much as that is true, a lot of the core principles of the program, it's beneficial stimulus for both parties.
Yeah.
Just like there's a bunch of leverage and gold to be had in those hills about just doing some of that meat and potato stuff that you guys are absolutely doing the same program. So we got back from spring training. You guys went to school for a day and a half, and then COVID hit.
Yeah, I remember sitting on my chair in our living room. It's my chair.
Yes.
But I remember sitting on my chair, and hearing Mom pick up the phone, and she's like, "Oh, school's canceled for 2 weeks."
Yeah.
2 weeks, guys.
And
2 weeks.
Yeah, it was going to be 2 weeks. And then at the same time, I think before we went to spring training, you had gotten accepted into, shout out to Liz Ben, Director of Operations at the New
Yep.
York Mets, formerly with MLB. They were doing the
Trailblazer Program.
Trailblazer Program for MLB for girls who were playing baseball, and we had applied, and you made
Yes.
it, which is how I got a chance to eventually meet Liz. Liz is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you were going to go to the MLB Invitational, the
In
Trailblazer
Los
Invitational
Angeles,
down in
California.
Los Angeles that summer,
I didn't get to do that.
but we didn't get to do that because of COVID.
Made me so sad.
But at the time, everybody was kind of like, well, we're going to get back to normal eventually.
Yeah.
So you and I stayed active, and we were down at our local field. We hit
Three times a week.
3 times a week consistently from like, March through the summer.
Yeah, through the summer. I think we only stopped when it started to snow.
Yeah, and
Like rain and snow. It's a little bit difficult to hit when, I don't know, you're scared that your power might go out.
sure, but I mean, it takes what it takes.
Yeah.
But you got so much better just because of, I think, of just like the consistency of that stimulus of just like trying to hit the ball as hard and as far as possible. I had a set of speed trainers. I had hitting plyos, and they're literally, we actually got like a crowd. There'd be these guys that worked for the King County Metro, the bus, who would like just take their lunch down at the park. And it
Yep.
got to the point where they knew when we were going to be there. And, we always kind of went in the middle of the day while I had my lunch. And like we brought a speaker and we had a crowd and we had like a cheering session because
Yeah.
you were just hitting nukes for like, you'd be down there. We'd hit for, an hour and a half and
Yeah.
just like Nuke City until we got tired, and you got so much better during that period of time.
Yeah, and I remember my hands hurt constantly because, takes what it takes. You swing hard, you get a lot of calluses.
Yeah, no, but
And I remember getting my first one that popped, and that hurt so badly.
that's good for you. So yeah, so we had COVID then, but we had also announced teams.
Yeah.
At Driveline, and you were a part of that first team group, and then we started training that October, which was your first kind of experience in the travel ball side of things,
Yep.
and like upside downside.
Yeah.
The good news about being able to have that period of time from like your 12U season into like a missed 13U season and go straight into 14 travel ball is we did get a chance to concentrate exclusively kind of on the skill side because there weren't really any games to play
Yeah.
for us because we didn't have a travel team that you were hooked up with already. I think the downside though is just that like some of the technical stuff of playing the game and also having to go directly from 4660 small field to 6090 big field because we missed 13U year was kind of impactful.
And I mean, like, even like because also like developmentally, like as a human being, 12 to 14,
Big
that's
difference.
a big gap.
And I think it's what we started to see.
Wasn't getting taller, wasn't.
Yes, some of the biological
Wasn't getting
disparities started to pop up.
Yeah.
But again, you had gotten so good on kind of like the hitting phase of the game because quite frankly that is just what we concentrated on during that period of time. I think you were leading the team with like a 1.4 OPS or something, or 1.6 or something preposterous at the front part of that season. You were crushing. But along with that was some of the
biological disparities started to show up.
and some comments from opponents,
Comments from opponents.
comments from opposing coaches.
Yep.
Um,
Like, yes, I'm a girl. Yes, I play baseball. No, I don't want your opinion.
yeah. So I guess I think it would be if you're comfortable just kind of like talking about, as a competitor on a field, your objective is the same as everybody else. You know,
Yeah.
your objective is the same as everybody else, but when you get called out for that type of stuff, uh, like how did it make you feel?
I mean, I got called the girl so many times. Like, so many times.
Sure, but how did that make you feel?
It made me feel like really, really like weird.
Like called out for it?
Like, I mean, not even called out, just like, it was like a very like yes and kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where I was like, okay. And then it started to get to the point where it was like, oh, girl, oh, girl, oh, girl. And it was just like, it was like this constant reminder that I was like, I'm not gonna be a boy. Like, no. I'm never going to like just poof, genie, boy now. Like, that's not gonna
Sure.
happen. And that just like, it became like this constant reminder. And like, even on like the strength side of things, where it's like I was lifting, but I wasn't lifting as much as the guys were. Like, but it was a lot. Like, you saw me squatting like 200 pounds.
I mean, you were squatting way more than your body weight.
Like, way more. Like, it was me. Like, I was squatting myself plus like a small child. Like, and I didn't get people standing around me. I didn't get claps on the back. I didn't get the blah blah blah. Like, I could list
Well,
off the things, but I won't.
And especially, you know, it's such a, and I will be honest that, you know, I'm not sure that I did a good enough job to kind of like prep the culture for some of your teammates to even know how to deal with that, right?
Yeah, and like,
Yeah, it's you know, that I think that feeling of feeling out of place or feeling the other and getting, I mean, you tell me, you know, it seems like
yeah,
a lot
it's
of those
like,
signals kind of contribute to that feeling.
yeah, and it's like I mean, like during the hitting, during the fielding, I didn't feel it as much because it's like that is a skill. It like, yes, strength, agility has a part in it, but that is a skill. That is a skill that you can develop.
Sure.
But like on the strength side specifically, it was like I was like benching 115 as a max while people were benching 115 as a warm up. Like that like
Makes you feel different.
it makes me it made me feel different. It made me feel like really, really crappy because I was like, but it also like it did drive me to work harder, but like it made me feel overwhelmingly like this is something like I don't know how to say this without like being like not saying it right, but like it made me like be like, I'm never going to be as good as they are. I'm never going to like, and like obviously I know I could like I could bench 250 if I like
100%.
had the time, did the practice, but
If you dedicate to it.
if I dedicated to it, I could do it. But I would like, it would take me longer.
Possibly.
Like, and like, it sucked because I was like, I am trying so hard to get better. And I still feel like crap.
So that leads me, I think, to my next question, and I this is very much, I have a fair idea of like what you're going to say, but I'm still curious. I think you and I had some conversations where it seemed like it got to a point where in that first year of teams and then that second off season, that it seemed like there was a feeling like a pressure buildup where it was like you felt like in order to justify your presence on the field that you had to be perfect, which is
Yeah.
a really tough way to approach anything, much less a game like ours, which is kind of predicated on dealing with struggle and failure and learning.
And
So
like
tell
that,
me.
like I truly did feel like I couldn't make a mistake
Because
they
it was
were
just
always
like,
watching.
yeah,
They were always watching.
yeah,
And if I screwed up, it was because I was a girl.
right. Which is you know, and it's one of those things that, again, I remember us having these kind of conversations about how like, look, the other people on the field, be it teammates or competitors, none of them are perfect either, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's a difficult thing. I mean, I'm guessing because I've listened to you talk about it and we've had these conversations that like that difficulty becomes ramped up when there's this base feeling of like I feel very much like I
The
am the
other.
other. Yeah.
Like, and
And I
it was
don't
like, I did feel like, because obviously no one is perfect. No one is a perfect fielder. Like, even the pros mess up.
yes.
Like, I have watched it several times. Even the pros mess up. But like, it felt like, oh, if we were just doing like grounder drills, which honestly I was pretty freaking good at. Like, I was pretty good at them. But like, it
But when you
was
go like 19 for 20 in that one, you magnify the effect of it, or
Mhm.
the effect gets magnified of it, or some combination of both of those
Yeah, like
things.
I would be like I'd miss one, or I'd miss like anywhere from like 3 to 4, and then it would become, oh, Cora, you suck. When it's like there was a kid on the team that was missing like 5-10, like, but
I mean, all of you guys are developing,
yeah,
but like
yeah,
when you inherently feel like there's a standard, a false standard that you end up having to live up to, and then you also get some of these like some intentional, some non-intentional signals
mm-hmm.
about like how you shouldn't have the same kind of tolerance for learning as everybody else. That's a crappy. It's a hard environment.
Yeah,
It's a
and
really
like
hard environment, and I don't, and I'm not sure what a system that looks like that doesn't have that effect on girls playing baseball looks like, other than like three things. One, I think for a lot of you kids, just generally coming out of COVID was
it
tough.
was
There was a
tough.
weird time for you guys to go like 12 to 14. There's a lot of social adjustment there that was like
Loss.
significant. But putting that stuff aside, I don't know. I don't know that if I had to do it over again, um, I think at least in terms of like our house, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think what I would do is um, I would have more directly addressed the issue with everybody to start, and
Mm-hmm.
I also would have worked my ass off to find a female coach.
Yeah.
And like perfect 30-second timeout. If you're a woman that wants to coach baseball and you've played high level fast pitch or you've played club baseball, please email us. Like
Please.
like we want more female coaches. There is no reason that like the side of the store that you buy your bikini on should be determinate about whether you can be an effective youth and middle school and high school baseball coach. We have all the tools in the world to be able to prop up your career and give you a leg up on further coaching opportunities. So support at drivelinebaseball.com, 425-523-4030, drivelinebaseball.com/careers. Um,
How did you say that so
I've
fast?
been doing this for a while. Um, so I think that's what I would do, honestly, is I would try to find a way to send some more clear top level signals
Mm-hmm.
to everybody in the ecosystem that like, look, you're just going to have to get comfortable with this. And I think it's one of the reasons that to me, I think it's difficult for girls. It's just inherently there's some social blockers to
Mm-hmm.
be comfortable playing baseball, and a lot of that just starts at the fact that like you might be that outlier, but if there's no coaching
Mm-hmm.
outlier that you can see either, there's no kind of subconscious signal to the boys that are your teammates or the boys that are your
Mm-hmm.
competitors that like girls belong in this game too.
Like,
It's really
uh,
difficult.
Rachel, I can't remember how to pronounce her.
Rachel Balkovic, shout out Rachel.
She was and still is like my idol. Like, she showed me that, like, yeah, I am a girl. I can still kick your ass. Like, that's that's something that I didn't really get to see a lot, because again, it's like there is just like this
Not in the game,
not in the
right?
game.
Yeah.
Like, it just wasn't there. And so seeing Rachel, like, where is she now? She's like with
Yankees.
the
The
Yankees.
Yankees.
Yeah.
The Yankees.
Like, and seeing that even now is like, oh my gosh. Like, that's it's inspiring, genuinely.
So like, look, man, if you don't realize why people push for this stuff, the importance of visibility is you're making a path and a dream and a story real for a kid. Like it's just you need to have the Liz Bens, the Kim Ings, the Rachel Balkovics, the Louisa Gauchis. There's more that I can't even think of right now because I haven't had enough coffee today. That visibility is so critical because you're firmly forming that like this is a place that I belong, and I just when there's a lot of signals that it's hard to even control that signal from just being something that is just like readily apparent. Baseball is a game that's dominated by male coaches and competitors, but if that doesn't mean that it's just exclusively for those people.
Yeah, and also like when I would like on the occasion that I would see another girl on like a baseball team, like before the game, after the game, I am coming up to her and I'm telling her that like you are awesome. Like you played awesome. You like and then like I'm going to pay attention to what she does so that I can like accurately be like you are freaking awesome. You are cool.
Yeah.
Because that's like, because again, it's like you're going to be an outlier. So it's like I wanted to like reach out and be like, hey, I feel what you feel. I get it. And like, just like even the simplest, like, oh my gosh, you did so good. Like, yeah, you like that play you made was so cool. Like just that like that affirmation that like this is a space where we belong. This is a space where we can hang was so important to me.
So, I want to segue into Justine Siegel and Baseball for All.
Yes. That
Thank God for Justine Siegel and Baseball for All. So finishing that year one, we finished our tournament schedule, and then you and I literally hopped on a plane and flew to Maryland. Because we had
Firefly for the first time.
we had agreed to have a Driveline sponsor team at the Baseball for All national event back in Aberdeen, Maryland. I think it's at the Ripken Complex.
Yep.
And we brought together myself and Coach Louisa Gauchi.
Yes.
Shout out Gauchi. Coach Gauchi and I brought together a bunch of girls that we met. We met on a Sunday, and we played a game at like 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning on Monday.
Yeah.
And you know, the tournament, the games itself, I truly couldn't care less about. I think my biggest
like I made friends at Baseball for All that like we talk all the time. Like even if it's just like a happy birthday or like that picture of your dog on your Instagram is super cute or like just like the simplest thing, because it's like you still have that lifeline if you need it.
Well, and I, you know, for me as a parent who I just want to see you get as much out of this thing as you want. Right? When we on the first opening ceremony night of the Baseball for All the National in Aberdeen, when we were in that line of teams or going into a stadium, and it's the Yankees, the Iron Pig Stadium, so it's like it's a legit, you know, it's a AA park, and we processioned in, and they named all the teams and they named all the players. We found our little spot, you know, in the outfield, and like you're sitting there and you're looking, and it's like, you know, this is
all girls,
105,000 square foot, you know, 90-foot baseball complex, professional baseball complex,
all girls,
and it's all girls, and it's all girls, and to me, man, I just you know, I wish I had taken you there sooner, because I think to a degree that for me it was the first time that I felt so happy that like you could be out there and not be the outlier, but you could be normal.
Yeah.
And like that to me was just like so special to be able to have that experience. I'm so thankful for Justine for putting together Baseball for All and giving us a chance to do that. Louisa coached another team and took them back there this last year. I'm glad that we've been able to kind of support that and continue to push it. I would love for us to be able to have a girls 10U team at the academy.
Do it.
Um,
Sign up your children.
because I firmly believe that all the other stuff that I talk about when it comes to biological adaptivity of young people, again, that's not determined by gender. It's a human condition thing, and I truly believe that there's like gigantic market opportunity to just like take a young girls team that starts young and train them in a way that just like optimizes for athletics and skill development. And I think you could set those girls up to be that next generation of kids to follow in the footsteps of the Ozas and the Palomas and Louisas, who are continuing to like and Maggie Gallagher, like they're making inroads in college baseball. Like this is a thing that's happening. I would love to have that opportunity. But anyways, that Baseball for All event, I think for you and I, it was great to be able to like to just be there and go see the Black Widow movie in an empty movie theater
and go to Wawa.
We did all the things.
I am the biggest Wawa supporter.
Okay.
I wish they had one in the Pacific Northwest.
There you go. You got one customer.
Wawa.
Yeah, we ordered like a sandwich and a fruit smoothie and
chicken strips
and Wawa was great. Just the baseball for all experience was just phenomenal, and I was so glad that like you were able to see that and be able to have that experience, because then that kind of tailed into some off period time, and then we started up kind of the next season's off season. And I could tell pretty early that I think you had kind of decided that like it wasn't that you didn't love it anymore. But absolutely. the passion to compel the amount of work was going in different directions.
Yeah, and like, I mean, was it that summer that I got hit in the eye? I think it was. Like,
yes, it was that summer. Yeah, you had your first
my first hospital visit.
Sunshine fly ball. Dead into the sun.
Happened.
I can tell you what happened. It was a very, very high pop-up. The sun was in front of you. You came up here, lost it in the sun. It clipped the top of your glove and hit the old eye socket there.
Yeah, like, and then to quote one of my teammates at the time, I folded like a piece of paper.
Yeah, that was a fun trip to the old Marybridge Hospital.
Oh yeah, love Tacoma.
Yeah, so tell me, I guess we can talk about it. Like, how did you land at that decision? Like, how did you see that coming, that it was just like, I think I actually am ready to be done?
Like, I don't even remember. I just like remember being like, and it's not like I was like tired of it or anything. Like, not at all. Not even in the slightest. But it was like it's like I was at peace with it. I was like, this has been like, and it was honestly a really difficult decision, because it, like, again, I might start crying, maybe a little bit, just a single tear, dramatically.
Perfect.
But like, it followed me from being, I don't know, 3 years old sitting on a bucket to like now, or not even now, but like
sure.
I don't know what, like at the beginning of this year.
Yeah, about a year ago.
Like, in that, even like that's my whole life. That's
an overwhelming majority of your life, yes.
Like all but 4 years?
Sure.
All but 4 years.
Sure.
Like, it was a deep part of who I was. Like, I was a girl who played baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And then even after I stopped playing, it was like I had to like go on this like weird little journey of self-discovery where it was like, who am I? Like, who am I?
Which starts with identifying like, do I want this thing to define me anymore?
Yeah.
Like, is this, am I doing this because I continue to remain passionate about it, or are my passions starting to ebb and change as they
Yeah.
should as part of you growing up? And the only thing that I would also offer is just like I think you've kind of self-selected into an academic path that is pretty difficult,
Yeah.
and it's a real struggle,
Mm-hmm.
to find balance in those things, right? And also be able to have like a social life, because you've kind of got like those three things, like your athletics, your education, and your social life, and
Yeah.
like, and I
And I gotta like balance those out.
and it feels just like a lot of like,
Oh
well,
yeah,
if
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
doing
yeah.
this thing, I'm missing this opportunity to do this, and then there's this like total like FOMO thing.
Mm-hmm.
um and again, like if one of those things that's creating, that's a part of some of that conflict, not that it's creating it, it's just in
Mm-hmm.
the equation, isn't something that you are like passionate about, then I think it is a rational decision to just go like, you know what, it's okay.
Yeah, and
But it
like
means you kind of have to start to process what it means to
yeah,
not like actually be defined by that.
like I like and like last year was my freshman year of high school, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are a sophomore.
I am a sophomore. That's super weird to say. I'm getting old. My bones are creaking.
Don't even start.
But like and like freshman year for everyone is like
Huge
a
adjustment.
oh yeah. And
And again,
especially after COVID and
yeah,
not going to school
yeah,
and then immediately being like, "Hey, so you're in the final 4 years of your education. What do you want to do with your life?"
yeah,
Cuz I feel like for those first couple months of freshman year, I was like, "I am still 12."
yeah.
Like I'm not prepared for this at all. But like as I like as I started that year, as I gained and lost friendships, things like that,
Sure.
my social life completely changed. I am friends with
I,
no one that I was friends with in freshman year. But like I learned who I was and who I wanted to be. And like it's not that I didn't enjoy baseball anymore. Absolutely not. I love baseball. Like it's a 10 out of 10 sport. But I came to the realization that it's like I don't really want to play anymore. And then that's when I was like, okay, how do I go about doing that?
yeah.
Because my dad runs Driveline Baseball Youth Academy. And that in and of itself was like a difficult thing. Like I don't know if mom told you, but I was like
I
I was
know, I
like
know, I know. I know you talked to mom about it before you
yeah.
talked to me. But again, the thing that to come right all the way back to the beginning, it's just like, I can 100% imagine that like the prospect of having to have that conversation with me relative to the fact that like of what I do is something that can be
It was
inherently
daunting.
daunting, is a phenomenal word, and I'm so flippin' happy that you're smart enough to use it, because that is the word, right?
Yeah.
Because as for me as a parent, as much as I've always tried to make sure that like my love for you is not defined by your participation or
Mhm.
not in this stupid game,
Mhm.
it's also been a part of our lives.
Mhm.
And
And like that also influenced a big part of my decision. I was like, is my relationship with my father going to change because I don't play baseball?
right.
And it hasn't.
No.
You're still my dad. You're still
Yes.
pretty cool. You still show me really cool movies and really cool music. And like,
Well,
or
now we just watch Formula One together.
now we just watch Formula One together.
Yeah.
Take me to Vegas.
Okay. We'll figure that out. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, part of the reason that I wanted you to be able to come on here was to, for sure, like talk about that experience, and if that's a benefit for girls that are thinking about playing
Mhm.
baseball, girls that are currently playing baseball, parents like me who have a daughter
Mhm.
who just wants to play baseball. Um, I think for me as a parent, as a coach, the one thing that I would try to do a better job of is using whatever resources I had to normalize participation.
Mhm.
And I don't know if that means just explicitly going like, hey, if I'm going to be the head coach, I need 2 female assistant coaches,
Mhm.
or I need to connect with the local high school fast pitch program and try to get them to come down and work with us on some stuff,
Mhm.
or I need to connect with Maggie Gallagher, Louisa Gauchi, Justine Siegel, Rachel Balkovic, type of person
Mm-hmm.
and see that visibility. Like I think that for me is, if anybody's gotten this far into this thing, that's the one thing that I would probably push towards.
Yeah.
Is try to do whatever you can to shift the perception from outlier to participant.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're just a participant, you are no different than everybody else. You shouldn't
Yeah.
be held to a higher standard. You shouldn't be held to a different standard.
And you
You're all
shouldn't
young.
have
You're all
to be
learning.
perfect.
Yeah.
Like any women, girls who are watching right now, because they're bound to be some.
One or two.
What?
One or two.
One or two. A few. Like, I feel like we don't have to be perfect if we play baseball.
You
We
just
don't-
have to play.
You just have to play. We have to like show that like this isn't something that's like unheard of or like, I don't know, like bad. It's just different. And it is important that we do it, because like no matter what, there's gonna be another girl.
There's
like-
more. I mean, it's for sure changing.
Like there's like, I don't know, like 20 million little babies that are being born as I say this sentence. And
Some of those girls are going to play ball.
statistically half of those are girls. But those like newborn babies are gonna like, they're gonna grow up, and like I'm so thankful because they are like, these small children are going to get to see like women playing a male dominated sport.
Yeah.
And absolutely crushing it, might I add. But like, and it does take like, for me it did take in like a weird amount of like mental strength and like just like, what's the word? It's like being able to push through.
The word you're looking for is perseverance.
Thank you. Yes, like an insane amount of perseverance throughout like all the like oh girl comments. Like
Sure.
it did take a lot. It took a lot for me to stay, and it took a lot of me. It took a lot for me to stay, and it took a lot for me to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. But on the other side of that decision is experience gained,
Mm-hmm.
persevering, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also coming to understand yourself with clarity about like, I can love this thing, but I don't necessarily need to be defined by it
Mm-hmm.
unless you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and I guess now, you know, that's the thing that you're going to have an opportunity to kind of like grapple with, pun intended, as you start to try high school wrestling, which is the thing that
Mhm.
Cora is going to be doing, you know, this year. It's just like, you know, we're writing this big thing right now, and in the intro of it, it's trying to like collect all of our educational youth resources into one thing, right?
Oh,
So
that's
you don't
really
have to go to Hacking the Kinetic Chain
thing.
Youth and the Skills at Scale book and the Youth Baseball Development Certification. That it's just like it's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote the intro week before last. I polished it up this week, and you know, you have to kind of go into youth baseball, I believe, with an explicit understanding of how impossible the best case outcome is.
Yeah.
It's impossible. No one plays Major League Baseball. Like basically no one, relative to the entire population,
Yeah.
right? It is such
like
it's such a
1,000
small
people.
Since I was born, there have been like 4,600 people that have played the game. Since I've been born, there are like hundreds of millions of people that have been born.
Yeah.
So the number of people that have participated at the highest, the objective, the dream, right?
Mhm.
It's just like infinitesimally small.
Mm-hmm.
If that's true, then it's really important to like calibrate what you're trying to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the reason that I was so proud that you decided to be done on your own terms, on your own accord, for your own reasons,
Mm-hmm.
is because to me, it shows a level of character that to a degree is informed by the experience,
Mm-hmm.
right? You chose to do a really hard thing. You did it for as long as you wanted, and you decided to be done.
Mm-hmm. And like that also took a lot. It's like, because me previously being a dumb 12-year-old who didn't exactly know what she was doing.
Suffice to say, just 12.
just 12. Just 12. Like, just 12, just 13, just 14. I didn't know what I wanted.
You shouldn't.
And I shouldn't have to.
Correct.
Because, again, still a child. Maybe a sophomore, still a child. But, like, and I shouldn't have to have, like, what I must be defined by thrust upon me. And that's what, like, stopping baseball, like, gave me. It gave me the realization that, like, I choose what I want to do. I choose who I am. And, like, why are you...
Hey, man. If you want to get a chance to know your child better, my suggestion is start a podcast, bring them on, and then give them an open, free environment to, like, talk and get to know them because, man, I'm just so flippin' proud of you.
Thank you.
I think all you can ask for, I think a lot of times as a parent, is to try to like help your children avoid some of the most significant pitfalls that you experience, and like leverage the knowledge that you've accumulated, right? The only difference between me and you is just I just have done this for longer than you have. And by no means am I perfect. I am still a work in progress, but like to see you start to like self-actualize about this type of stuff and navigate these type of choices and grapple with the outcomes and understand how it's just part of this iterative process of learning how to be a person and learning how to be an athlete, and the intersection of those two things. You're a really cool person, and I feel very lucky to have made you.
Thank you.
With the help of your mother.
I was just talking about this with Mom. We decided that she did a lot of the work.
No, she did. Yeah. I was there. Anyways.
But like, I don't know. It's just I'm genuinely honored to be your daughter because he's a pretty cool guy.
Okay, relax.
Beyond being, I don't know, director of youth baseball at Driveline, he's pretty cool.
Yeah, now I'm getting uncomfortable.
He's cool, and like and genuinely, the thing that I was most scared of with stopping baseball is that our relationship would change, and it hasn't. So, again, I don't know, any teenage girls that are watching, probably not. I don't know, but
yeah, we'll get them.
We'll get them. We'll get it with me.
Sure.
But if you are playing baseball and you're like, hey, this isn't for me anymore, it's okay to stop. Like, if you're honest with your parental units or your parent, guardian, caretaker, whatever.
Sure. Family.
And you're like, hey, this isn't something that I want to do anymore. I want to say at least in my experience, it went pretty well. Like, you just kind of went, cool, let's stop. And then we stopped. And then came, I don't know, to quote my mother, the summer of Cora, where
Summer of discovery, yes.
Like, I did crew. I ran 3 miles in 30 minutes.
Tried cheer.
Gonna try cheer again. It's happening.
Okay.
You can't stop it.
Okay.
You can't stop it.
Okay.
I'm trying wrestling. It's like I'm learning what I like and I'm learning what I don't. And that's important.
Yeah, and I guess again, not to turn this into like Devin's deep dad thoughts about parenting, but specific to baseball, like I think about that coach you had, who lit you guys up for poor performance and then gave you the cold shoulder.
Yeah.
And I think about certainly again some of my own poor behavior as a coach, which I think you've very much like rose-colored glasses me, because there were times when I was coaching you that I was still an asshole. Like I still I still hadn't gotten my head wrapped around just the benefits of a more positivity, fun, and engagement driven approach. But past that, I think as a parent, the one thing that I could just recommend to people is just like understand that like if you separate yourself from the in-game result being the ultimate deliverable, then it gives you the opportunity, you are afforded the opportunity to embrace other positive deliverables. And it's like, we talk so much about like baseball being a game that builds character, but if that's something you're really going to embrace, you have to value the character driven opportunities as much as you embrace the competition driven and the outcome driven opportunities. You have to appreciate and show value and seek out both. So like for me, I think you understand what like a test retest model is. You understand this iterative process of, in baseball, it's skill development. In educational, in your personal life, it's just like personal development. But it's just understanding that like, the more time you put into something, the more you're going to develop yourself and your skills in doing so. And that is a process that just like takes time. And you apply that to your mock trial that you did in high school, that you did at high school a couple weeks ago. You can apply that to wrestling. You can apply that to cheer. You can apply that to art. Like, it's just, I think that for me is the biggest takeaway that we can try to give to children as a conduit, and use this game as a conduit for like developing that sense of things.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, like, I know what like a true driven community is because of baseball. Like a group of people working towards the same goal isn't like, I've never experienced it the way I experienced it here.
Yeah.
Like, it truly was a group of people who want you to succeed, and you in turn want them to succeed.
Sure.
It's like,
it's a collaborative process.
It's collaborative, and it's unique in that way where it's like, when the numbers go green, everyone cheers. No matter who's hitting, no matter who's like throwing, no matter what. Numbers go up, that's good.
And the thing is that, like, I think because you are able to understand and identify that now, you're going to have the ability in the future as a leader, as a manager, as someone who has the opportunity to set culture, you can create that now because you've seen it. And I think to a degree, you've also seen what it looks like when someone feels like the other, where they feel maybe stigmatized intentionally or non-intentionally, and you can create a system to avoid those outcomes too. And all of that just comes from not going, hey, it's a failure that you did not play high school baseball through your senior year. It's the other thing, which is that there's so much value and there's so much learning and there's so much benefit to your experience. That like that stuff is so informative in your personal development. And to a degree, it just requires, I think, sometimes the adults in the equation to emphasize that type of value commensurate with what we're trying to get in terms of the competition result. So,
and like, I don't know, even in competition, it was like it sucks when I lose, but when I do good, it's even better.
Sure.
It's even better when like, it doesn't matter if my team won or lost. If I think that I did good, I'm going to be proud of that.
And like, pretty sure 2 weeks ago, we were just talking about this idea of like ego versus task orientation. You can read I can't remember if this is in like the athletic skills model book for any coaches that really want to go firmly down the rabbit hole. But like, most kids are very much like ego orientation driven, and it takes them to understand the context and the value of being more task oriented, and that's what you're talking about. You combine that with the idea, like the Jean Piaget, the difference between the concrete and operational stages of cognitive development, where we go from like very black and white. Winning is good because it makes it feel bad. Losing is bad, or winning is good because it makes me feel good. Losing is bad because it makes me feel bad.
Yes.
And then the next stage of things, which is what you just advocated for, which is an abstract understanding, right? We either won or lost that game, and that makes me feel X. I performed, I was prepared in this other way, and that makes me feel Y. And you can balance these two things against each other.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, it sucks to lose. That's never gonna change.
Of course.
Like, it is one of the few concrete principles of this crazy life that we are in. It sucks to lose. Like, but when you take a step back from the initial, like, oh, we lost, that sucks, I feel like crap now, you take a look at like how you did, how you feel, abstract from whatever just happened. Like, you take a look at what you did, and like, even when we lost, I still want, like, like I walked away from the field knowing that like I did my best and I tried my best.
Or that you had, that is true, and then you also had another thing to work on, right?
Yeah.
You had another thing to prioritize
And that
because
is-
of what you learned.
That is also like one of the great things about like competition is like you learn what you need to work on very quickly. Like very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And then after the fact, you go, okay, I need to work on X, Y, Z. How can I work on it? How can I get better? How can I like not fix, but like mend, you know?
About make progress.
Make
You know,
progress.
and again, that's a baseball thing in so much as that it's just a life thing. It's all encompassing. So I don't know. I think we're ready to wrap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't cry.
Yeah, I mean, I got a little teary eyed, but I
Little
generally
something.
held it together.
Good job. High five.
High five. So, if you've got a daughter that wants to play baseball, I think hopefully you'll find some amount of value in this. If you are a coach that's coaching some girls on your team, I hope you can find some value in this. If you have a child that wants to play baseball, I hope this has some value for you. And you can look again to like, man, your Rachel Balkovics, your Kim Ings, your Liz Benz, your Justine Siegels of the world. Like there's more that I am just forgetting, but like this is becoming a real thing. It is becoming real, and it is becoming visible, and it is incredibly important for the balance of our society to press upon this type of visibility, because what it affords kids like you to have it feel real. So that's all I got. It's Driveline Academy podcast special
Special Cora edition.
Special number one child edition. Thank you guys for checking it out.
Number one.
We'll see you next time.